So my name is Michael Cimarosi. We're here at Providence Restaurant in Los Angeles. We're here 15 years. We're a 2 Michelin star restaurant that specializes in seafood, but we also obviously serve lots of Wagyu beef. It's one of my favorite ingredients, and it's always a choice for main course here at the restaurant. It wasn't until I had moved to Los Angeles and was working in a restaurant here downtown that someone brought me a sample of Wagyu beef, hoping that we might be interested in putting it on the menu. When I grilled it, looked at it and just was stunned, and then started cooking it and tasting it, and again was stunned and was like, how could it be that, I've gone through the first 30 years of my life without ever tasting this magical product. We're gonna get the beef ready for the grill. Now I like to season with sea salt always, and so this is a fine sea salt, and you wanna season the beef liberally on both sides. And I've also had this steak out at room temperature for about 45 minutes. So now we're going to season it liberally as well with pepper, freshly milled pepper. The grill is ready for the steak. It's nice and hot. We don't need any fat at all. You just pop the Wagyu right on top of the grill. And if you notice, I have the grill a little bit raised up above the charcoal in order to regulate the heat. But if I want to get the steak started nice and quick, so by using the fan, you see the fire doesn't lick up underneath the beef, but if I stop, the fire will start pretty much right away. But you don't want to have too much flame underneath the beef, because this will affect the flavor in a negative way. If you start to get too much fire like that, you can just remove the beef from the grill for a second, flip it over, maybe position it in a different spot over the coals, and you'll get a little bit less fire this way. Okay, so now the beef, it has the color that I want, and it's at the appropriate level of doneness. So now I'll pull it off the grill, put it on a rack, and I'm gonna let it sit in a warm spot for 5 minutes before we do anything. So the beef is resting. So at this point, we're gonna prepare the sweet potatoes and the kale. Here I have Wagyu fat that we've rendered. So I'm gonna add that to a saute pan to begin cooking the sweet potatoes. So here the satsuma-imo, I'm just gonna put a little bit of salt on the surface of the potato and then put it flesh side down in the pan like that. I'm also going to add to the pan a little bit of butter. I'm also gonna add a couple of cloves of the garlic confit that we have right here. Now we start to see around the edges the sweet potatoes are caramelizing, which is what we want, that golden brown color. Then we're gonna heat our pan for the kale. We're gonna use this Wagyu fat with the garlic confit. So once the fat is hot, I can add the kale, some of the kale. A little bit of salt. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of the honey vinegar. Once we have good color on the sweet potatoes, we can take them out of the fat. So the last thing we want to do right before we serve it is put it back on the grill and get it hot enough for the plate again. So I'm going to do that right now. So here I have that 25-year-old balsamic vinegar we talked about, and I'm just going to add that to the beef fat that we have. Added a little bit of butter already to the sweet potato. I'm going to dab them with just a little bit of the beef fat and the balsamic mixture. We'll put that down on the plate right there. And then we have our chidori kale. And then we have our beef. Take a couple of slices. Brush it with a Wagyu fat. Finish with a little touch of sea salt. Finish it like that. Just gonna spoon a little bit of the vinegar. Finish with a couple of cloves of garlic. And there we go. All of those things are very delicious, unctuous, comforting kind of foods. The richness and the fattiness of beef is just a perfect complement to the sweet potato. And having visited, Wagyu farms in Japan and seen the way the animals are raised and seeing the way they value animal welfare and seeing, the type of feed that's given to the animals, all of it is just, the entire process just brings a product of impeccable quality to the market. I've never had an instance of bringing in Wagyu that was of a certain level, like A5 with a high marbling score, where I was like, wow, it's not extraordinary. It always is. It's incredibly consistent, incredibly flavorful. You know, Wagyu is just always a very, very special treat and a very special ingredient, worthy of the level of reverence that it receives.